Hey to my allies, theys and gays. This is Holly and Cass, and today we have Caitlin from the Dandy Lion.
Super excited to have you. Actually, you're having us.
I am. Welcome to the Dandy Lion. It's such a pleasure to have you guys.
I always love walking into this space with all of the good food. My favorite dish that we have here is the sausage sandwich.
The sausage, egg, and cheese.
Oh, so
a
good.
breakfast sandwich.
Please tell me the secret of that.
You want to know the secret?
I do.
It's that it's gay.
Oh.
That's what I tell everybody. I'm like, oh, the reason it's so good is because it's gay.
It's made with gay.
It's made with gay. We just, no, it's because we make our own sauces and spreads for it. Ooh. So like the cream cheese spread that's on it is like a savory cream cheese spread with hand caramelized. We put all the stuff together in it. We make the pepper jelly that goes on there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's a completely different take on a breakfast sandwich. It's not just like sausage and egg and cheese. There's a lot more to it than that, which I would say is gay.
It's all the things you have for sure.
It's special.
Yes.
I love the soup. Was it the potato soup I had one day?
So that's the thing is like the soup changes every week.
Listen, it was great.
I know.
And the adult charcuterie board.
Oh, the big kid Lunchable?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah.
That's our favorite. Every time we come to an event at the evening time, I'm going to expect that, hey, we're getting an adult Lunchable.
Yeah. Everybody always wants the big kid Lunchable. That's one of the ones, that and the sausage, egg, and cheese sandwich have been around since the beginning. And then the soup is Candace, my assistant manager's like dream child. So
can't go wrong with soup.
Yeah, no. But at the same time, I was like, you can't tease the masses with soup. You have to, if you're going to do it, you're going to have to do it every week. And so she does. So.
Yes.
So now that we talked about all the things that we like about this place, because we do come here often and we want to support a queer space, especially in a very small town.
Yep.
And Holly's from here, and I think that having this means a lot more to her as well. But what were you doing before all of this?
You have to go way far back to then come up to here, because right before this, I would say I was doing not a whole lot of anything. Right before this, I was dabbling in a private mortgage company because I had, and this is where we start going backwards and backwards, dabbling in a private loan company because I had gotten a job with Veterans United locally. That didn't work out. And then prior to that, just a few months prior to that, I had left education after being a teacher for 10 years. So this really came about really organically and as a surprise to everybody in my life, including myself, because I was just trying to reinvent myself, trying to figure out who I was after leaving education and having a few different stabs at that didn't work out. And yeah, so that's really, I was just floating and trying to figure out how to reinvent myself and what path I wanted to take in a life post-education.
Yeah, would you say education was easy?
No, I would say being a teacher, so like when you define yourself as something for as long as I did for that length of time, so like it was 10 years of I am a teacher, I am an educator. That part of me was really easy because that's who I am to my core. Even with the cafe, I'm still an educator, I'm still a teacher. Yeah. I'm someone who wants to help other people grow and become better. That part's really easy for me. I have all of the energy in the world for that.
You see it a lot, like when I come and you are like have new people working, you're helping them out, and you expect a lot out of them, but then you have to be like, oh wait, I have to bring it down and walk it step by step, especially if someone's new. Yeah,
even just people who come in the door, like it's their first time being in the cafe, it's always, there's like a whole, okay, are you new here? Okay, cool, let me make sure you know how all of this works and what the expectation is for, it's a little bit of a different kind of space. We're not necessarily here to cater to your every women need, but we want to, but like it's a relationship, like you need to want to be here and respecting the space in order for us to want to bend over backwards and make sure that you are having a good time here and feeling welcomed here, because at the end of the day, we're like hosting here.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we want other people that are in here that have walked in and have been here before to feel safe, and you don't want someone to come in here and ruin that.
We have everything was designed very mindfully. We have everything from the walkway where we basically bottleneck you right off the bat, like 10 feet, 15 feet from the front door. we will be able to see you coming for the front door. You can't just come up on an entrance from the side because of our decks and the way that we have that. And then everything to the fact that like the front counter is at an angle as opposed to being parallel to or perpendicular to the front door was thought out so that it was more welcoming. It wasn't as aggressive. When you come in, you're not like just automatically confronted. You have the option whether to stand in kind of the entryway and wait to be approached or to come up and then be seen.
I like that. I would have never thought about that, but it goes to show that you have put in a lot of thought to that setup. Now, looking at you done the Veterans United, being a teacher,
yes,
all of these experiences, you're like, why am I doing something that doesn't fill my cup, maybe?
So it wasn't even necessarily that it wasn't filling my cup, because I'm one of those folks who can find something to shove into the cup no matter what. We're just gonna take it, put it in there no matter. And that's taken a lot of very mindful work in terms of just like being able to be grateful and see the magic in the world and recognizing that we get like one, and that's really my driving force is we all get one. And like I don't understand why some people don't want to learn and grow, because for me it's wow, we get this one trip around the sun and let's like make it count. So it was more that like I felt like I was being limited. It was that I was being told to be happy with my cup being full.
I would have to agree with that.
Yeah.
Thinking to like teaching and working other jobs, I'm working for what exactly? I'm not making a difference, and I know that Dandy Lion is making a difference and making an impact for our community. And you guys have a lot of struggles that we'll talk about today.
Yeah.
And I feel like it goes a lot to show who you are, and you're gonna go every single mile to make sure that this place is available to us.
Yes, and it takes a lot of privilege, and that's something that like I really, because I think there are a lot of really wonderful people in the world who have the gift of energy in the same way that I do, but it takes a bit of the stars aligning in order for everything to work out the way that it has. And so I always want to stop and recognize the privilege that I have, and to be able to do this work is not easy, and it does definitely take a lot of tenacity and audacity and energy, but it also takes having a supportive community and partners who, we live in a capitalist society, and so in order for something like this to succeed, the restaurant business alone is difficult. Throw in on top of it being in a small town and being openly inclusive and queer, and you really do set yourself up for some really difficult times. And so having the financial support of family, friends, and community is critical.
Before I pass it on to Holly to have her answer or ask you questions, pronouns to make sure we're respectful.
Yeah, I use they, them pronouns. I am non-binary. Yeah, I discovered that about myself in like 2019, 2020.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been 6 years that has been something that really resonated with me. And it definitely is something that I know to be true. It's like one of those things where you didn't realize it until you realized it, and then you're like, oh God, yeah, no, oh God. So yeah, someone will be telling me a story about myself, and if they use she, her pronouns, I'm like so interested. And then I realize like halfway through the story, they're talking about me, and I'm like, oh, that's not. You're gonna have to start over, because I wasn't listening to that through the perception of like you were talking about me, because I'm so detached from my feminine.
I want to be completely transparent.
Yeah.
Because I was one that when I came out, and she maybe might feel the same way, but the they thems weren't a thing. The different stuff. Where do you think that came from?
So I think it's, if you look historically at queer populations and queer communities, like that has always existed. I think that one of the things about America in general and Anglo-Saxon like white culture, it comes from a very Puritan base, a very religious base, and in that type of Christianity religion, you see a lot of the binary, the male and the female, or the woman being part of property.
Do what you're told.
Exactly, and even further, you were property. Like you got married, your dowry helped fund you became the possession of a man. And so I think that being able to delineate those things in a binary is a very convenient thing for a patriarchal society. I think that for myself, pansexuality was also very similar. So like my whole high school career, I was bisexual. until I found one, but it never felt right. It was like, sure, I'm bisexual, but being a language lover that I am, I was like, more than two here, more than two. I like everybody. And so when I learned the definition of pansexual, that's what really clicked for me, was that like idea of loving everything and everybody if there's a connection and if there's an attraction, and it didn't really depend on what genitals they had or how they identified. And so the same kind of was true for me for being non-binary. Was I was literally sitting around with a group of teenagers that I used to work with as a mentor, queer teenagers I used to work with as a mentor, and I was asking them like how they had come to figure out their identity as non-binary. And I was like, yeah, I just don't feel like, I don't sit here and I'm like, oh yeah, pussy power, oh, vagina, oh. And they were like, yeah. And I was like, but also like, sometimes I wish I had a penis. So I don't. And they're like, and I was like, does that mean? And they're like, and I went, I think I'm, and they're like, yeah, we know. Yeah, we've seen that for a while.
Was waiting for you.
Yeah, it was just, yeah, it was one of those things where like I stepped into that light and was like, oh, okay, that feels right. This makes a lot of sense for me.
How was your family whenever coming out as that, or did you come out first as bisexual to your family?
So I've been out as not straight since high school, since I was like 16. And it was hard for my mom at first, but just simply because my mom really cares about my life experience. And so she didn't want life to be harder for me. But always loving, always supportive. My dad, not supportive, but also a little just more old school mindset of, he's a very path of least resistance kind of guy. And so it was like, why? Okay. There was no like argument for it, but it was also like, he wasn't like gonna start wearing a t-shirt that was like, proud parent of a gay daughter kind of thing. And then with the non-binary stuff, that was even more difficult, I think, for him to wrap his head around. He's a more very logical, fact-based person. He's a much more binary person. And again, my mom was just like, I just want to make sure that you're happy. I just want to love and support you and respect like how you identify. And so she's internalized it. She definitely gets it. It's still difficult, the language. Like she'll still have to remind her every once in a while. But none of it is ever malicious. I've been really fortunate. That's another one of the privileges, right? Is that I've had the fortune of being loved and accepted by my family on an overarching scale.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people get that.
No, they don't. And I'm always hesitant to like tell people it's their obligation or responsibility, but I view a lot of my privilege, my personality, and my ability to communicate the intelligence and the experiences that I've had, along with like my education background. I have my master's in administration. You learn through getting that degree how to communicate with difficult situations and stuff. And so when I'm coming from a place where I wasn't traumatized as a young queer person because of my identity, and I wasn't ostracized by my family or my community, there feels as though I'm happy to pick up the mantle of being somebody who can be an example for folks or a mentor for, or a representation for folks who haven't had that privilege or experience. And so to say, not to simplify it down to, oh, it gets better, but it's possible. Like it's possible. It's possible for you to find community. It's possible for you to carve out a place for yourself in this world.
It's one of those things where you have to be open-minded and not see yourself as the victim, and like how you're talking to yourself, showing up in ways that are gonna look a little bit different, but you do need community.
Yeah.
For sure.
I was gonna do a wraparound back to teaching.
Oh God, yeah.
Okay, so did you feel like you could be yourself? Did you look the way you do now when you were teaching?
So definitely I'm more, owning your own business allows you to have a lot more freedoms in terms of what's even possible. Yeah. I would say that at the time I definitely felt like I was the extreme end of things in education. I've always had like colors in my hair. I've always been tattooed and pierced, loud. I've always been very authentically out, and I organized or helped organize with the students the Gay Straight Alliance for the middle school. The real issue came closer towards the end of my career, where I was put into a situation that I didn't necessarily want to be in, which was to teach 6th grade as opposed to 8th grade. And there's a lot of developmental differences between an 8th grader and a 6th grader. And the parents of 8th graders can at least accept a little bit more easily that their kids are going to be exposed to some of these more difficult ideas and these more complex and community-wide conversations. Exactly. But then 6th grade, they are 11 years old. They did just leave elementary school. And so to come in and have an adult who is openly queer,
not hiding it.
No, not hiding it. I always felt really strongly that if other teachers in their intro PowerPoint are allowed to have their kids and their husbands, then I was allowed to have my dogs and my girlfriend. Yeah. But it's not viewed the same way. It's viewed as shoving it down their throats. Oh, you're just trying to
force the agenda on
Yeah,
them.
force the agenda or indoctrinate them. And I'm like,
you talk about church.
Yeah, you talk about you have a cross on your wall. You're talking about trying to get pregnant. You're like, what?
The things that are normalized, and we have not come to the same thing of queer community. It has been around for how long? This isn't fucking new.
Yeah, heteronormative. It's one of those things where you don't, until you really stop and start reflecting on it, you don't really realize how much heteronormative sexualization exists in the world. And beyond that, if we really wanted to go there, we could talk about how the vast majority of our generation was raised through the lens of a bunch of fucking pedophiles. Just saying.
Could go down that
There's a reason why we all think we're fat, because we're all supposed to not have any buccal fat, because we're all supposed to be adolescent. Yeah. And that's something actually that I've recently realized, and I'm sure pertains a lot to what you do in your life with your coaching and your physical coaching, is that idea of what is the body of a woman or a man or someone who is non-binary but wants to look a certain way. Why do they want to look that way? Yeah. What did we see in the magazines? We saw the things that were owned and operated and approved by fucking pedophile. Heroin chic is because you look like a teenager.
Yeah.
So it's really hard. And so all of those ways that heteronormative sexualization, just even to leave it at that, invade our lives and are pervasive. I mean, I'm about as queer as they come, and still the other day somebody was like, yeah, my friend's getting married, and I said, oh, who's her husband? And I said, who's gonna be her husband? And they were like, wife. Whoa. And I was like, oh, Jesus, I just did it. I just slipped into it has to be a man because it was a woman who's getting married kind of thing.
It's hard, right? I mean, it's one of those things where we're not trying to be mean, and I think that's why when we ask the pronouns and those, we're gonna struggle.
Yeah.
Because
I try to, with my niece and my nephews, I try to be like, if I've been like, is there any girls in your life? Whatever.
Right.
And then I'm like, is there any same sex?
Is there anybody in your life? Yeah, is there anybody in your life?
Yeah. Make it open and have that conversation instead of just closing off to this is what it's expected because this is who you are.
And it helps them feel more comfortable. Just having the option.
Realizing that it's okay, and it's an indicator to them too. It's a flag for them that oh, this is a safe person. If you're only asking about a certain part of their life that may exist, then the other part feels unapproachable.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about your vision for the Dandy Lion. How old were you when it first came into your mind?
So legitimately believe that it took about a week.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Yeah, I think it took about a week for me to be like, I might want to open a cafe. Yeah. I think I have the funding for a cafe. But I was, like I said, I was kind of working in the lending industry. So the Dandy will be 4 years old. I'm 42, so 37, 38.
Yeah.
Never ever thought about working in the food industry, never thought about working in the bar industry or the entertainment industry or anything like that. All those things that encompass, I guess, what the Dandy does. But I knew I didn't necessarily want to always work for somebody else, especially after my experiences with large establishments like the public school system, like Veterans United, there's a lot of bureaucracy and all of that. And I like to jokingly, my friends will say that I have a problem with authority. And my whole thing is I don't have a problem with authority. I have no issues with authority because I don't really view authority as a concept. Because to me, that's respect, right? Authority is supposed to come from respect. Or when we say, oh, you should respect authority. Why? you're an adult, I'm an adult. As long as we're all adults, I don't care if you're a 70-year-old adult. Like, I guarantee you there's something I know more about than you do, and there's something you know more about than I do, and therefore you should respect me on this matter, and I'll respect you on that. And so the powers that be don't like that, and people who aren't held accountable don't like being held accountable. Like, they don't like to have to reflect on what they've done. Right. Yes. And of course, queer joy will piss off the most miserable people. Always.
It's crazy. It's funny you say that, because we had an experience then at the Hartsburg hitching post, and the guy legitimately tells us, I'm jealous that you guys are happy. So
we should maybe back up there. It did not start like that.
Oh, but that's what I got out of it. That is what I got out of it.
The straight man, look straight. It's just giving straight. And a giant ass beard comes over, and I don't even know.
He was a dick to you.
I was like talking to my friend, and then I like looked at him, and he was like, ugh. Oh, cool. So then I was like, I'm only gonna tell my friend Amy, and God forbid, please do not tell Kaz, because then we're gonna get into a giant
because then we'll get in a fight.
I don't do that anymore, thank you.
Yeah.
I have grown.
But then he kept calling us from across the room.
It was really...
No, queer joy pisses them off. Yes. Like, it pisses like the ubiquitous them. But like, joy in general makes people who have not sought their own happiness uncomfortable.
Yeah, you stay in an 8-to-5 job or 8-to-4 job because you were told to. You can get the fuck out.
Yeah.
You can leave, and you've done that.
Yeah.
Stay in something that's going to make me miserable.
And it's one of those things where, of course, again, like, you do have to have a certain amount of, like, everything leads up to that moment. I actually was thinking yesterday about this when I was looking through some of the questions that you were wanting to talk about today, and I was like, the funniest thing I could say is that the cafe would not exist without Tinder.
Okay.
Because in the winter of 2019, right before I got out of teaching, I had just opened my relationship with my partner that last summer, and so we were non-monogamous and trying that out. And I matched with Lars Van Zant on Tinder.
Yes.
And Lars Van Zant owns Century Tattoo, which is our neighbor at the Dandy.
When they pop over here. And
connected by a hallway that we call the hallway of friendship.
Yeah.
And so while I was doing the like private lending company and just babysitting a whole bunch of white men, it's accurate. That is exactly what I was doing. I was doing that, and simultaneously, because I was bored, helping him figure out, you know, what he had just opened, the tattoo shop. And so like I was helping him, and when he was busy, I would come and help with that. And we would sit around on our like off time and be like, God, I wish we had some place to go in Ashland. And then literally the space right behind his came open, and I was like, if we want a space, like, I could take some of the equity out of my house and get a loan. And I think that literally it was just like, yeah, let me do it. I'm going to do it. I'm doing it.
Dive on in.
Talk about it 1 week. It sounds like you, babe.
Yeah, that's how that works. There are some people who are just doers.
If not now, when?
Find a way or make one. But yeah, it takes pathways coming together to get to that point. And I would want this for everybody. But like I said, like, it's not, a desire isn't necessarily enough. It's definitely, you can't do it without the desire to seek your own happiness. But then it takes all of that other stuff coming together and fighting for that other stuff. And one of my biggest things with like my partner of 10 years, Paul, like I love him to death, but he is definitely more of like my father, like a path of least resistance kind of person. And I'm always like, bridges, not barriers, right? When something happens to you, like you can look at it as a barrier or you can look around for bridges.
Right.
And there's been so many times where I could have viewed what was happening in my life or with the cafe or with finances as a barrier, and instead been like, all right, but like, how are we gonna make lemonade out of this?
Jump the barrier.
Yeah, jump the barrier, blow it down,
Whatever.
light it on fire.
So, do you want to tell us the Dandy Lion name? How did you come up with it?
So that's another one that's like the tender thing. How much lore do you actually want? Like the whole lore?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
We gotta know it because I don't know anything.
Yeah, this is like the Jeopardy question. This is like the $1,000 Jeopardy question about the dandelion is where did the dandelion name come from? So you know the song Get Low?
Yes.
Okay, and you know the song the verse in the song that says, "Girl, can I play with your panty line?" I had a friend who was drunk one night. We're sitting in the back of my car, and Paul was driving or whatever, and she's like, "Can I play with your dandelion?"
Oh.
And I was like, "I'm sorry, what did you just say?" And she was like, "Can I play with your dandelion?" And I went, that is not the lyric.
Oh my God.
And so our group of friends started to call ourselves the Dandy Lions, making fun of her. And that kind of friendship like fizzled out. That group of friends went to the wayside, whatever. But that line, that has always stuck around in my head. And so when I was trying to think of what I wanted to name this space, I knew I wanted it to be something that could be almost like a British pub.
Yeah.
The Nasty Rooster or something like that. I don't know. Like
Something that stands out.
And so dandelions, like the plant itself, have always signified something really important to me. I was a science teacher, big on biological, ecological processes. I loved teaching how environments and ecosystems were dependent on all of the parts of it, and how without those photosynthesizing base layers, like nothing else could become possible. And so pollinators have always been something that has fascinated me, and I've seen a lot of magic in that kind of aspect of our lives and in the environment. And so dandelions are something that has always been seen as an other, needing to be removed. It's very representative of the sterilization of our society and communities and populations as a whole, in terms of you want that perfect green lawn so you can have your perfect white fence and your 2.5 kids and all of that. All things that I've always been like, no! And so to me, like the presence of a dandelion or the embracing of a dandelion is the embracing of an other, right? Of wanting that, to recognize the importance of that unwanted aspect of someone or something as vital. And so dandelions are so important to an environment and an ecosystem, in the same way that the folks that I want to draw into this space and want to find a home in this space, that to me, they are the dandelions of our community, right? They're the ones that are often seen as others or dispensable or unwanted. And when in fact, like without all of that diversity, without those individuals, our entire ecosystem and environment would collapse. And that all just meshed together in the fever dream, I think. And I just was like,
that's it.
This is what we're gonna name it. And the rest.
I think it's really cute, and the story behind it, I think, means a lot more now, knowing and understanding what it is. Because some people just name a place and
yeah, oh, this will be good for advertising, or oh, this will make a cute logo. Yeah.
This one not so much. This one is.
It's yeah, it's really meaningful. It's
and
definitely.
One idea of doing this.
Yeah, that's how my brain moves really fast.
You don't say.
Yeah, I know, right? What? So yeah.
I also really love dandelions, and it makes me really sad that people like hate them so much. But I really loved what you said about the ones being a dandelion, because I'd rather pick the dandies any day over a nice yard.
Yeah, I would much rather have like weeds in my yard, like native flowers. And dandelions aren't native. That's my favorite argument. That's the thing, is they are prevalent, they are pollinators, they are seen as others, they are undesirables. And when in fact, like, no, they're wonderful.
Yeah,
Yes, they are.
So, and resilient.
yeah. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Here.
and so there's a lot of symbology and meaning in the name itself. But yeah, also get low.
Yeah.
I will remember that.
You're welcome.
Get low.
Yeah.
And the dandy what? Dropper? The dandy.
The panty
What'd she
line. Girl, can I play with your dandelion?
That should be on a shirt.
Yeah, she thought it was a euphemism. And I was like, no, he's being quite direct, actually.
So we went over what inspired the idea for it. So I think we're back to you.
The reason we had this podcast as early as we did, to make sure we got this in here and to get more people to know about it.
Yes.
When is the birthday
So,
of Dandy?
So just like all other anniversaries in my life, it's in March sometime. None of my other I've been with Paul for 10 years, because we got together in the fall of. So it's in March, and every year I basically look at the March calendar and go, which one's the easiest Saturday? So this year it's March 14th, and so we'll be turning 4, which is wild. There's, like I said, I don't know a whole lot about restaurant business, industry business, owning a small business, anything really with business. But I guess they say if you can make it past 3 years, then you have a much higher, the chances of you surviving are much higher. And yeah, so we're hitting our 4-year. We will be starting our 5th year, which is wild.
That's amazing. When you look at the Dandy Lion opening 4 years ago, what was that day like?
It's so funny to look at how empty it was, because we have a tendency, like, people, this is very much like it has a mind of its own and it has a heart of its own, and like people just bring us things.
Okay.
And we're really bad at saying no because we love it. We want it to be a community. We want it to be a space that people feel at home. And so it's become like a living room for the community. People just bring things and leave them, and then it just gets warmer and richer and like more doodaddy and kitschy, but not in a road stop trucker kind of kitschy, in a legitimate, I feel like I'm at home kind of weird kitschy. But looking back at like the pictures of that first, so we opened with a drag show.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so we thought we were gonna be open, and we didn't open. We didn't have our soft open in time before we already had an event planned. And so we had a drag brunch with like the white plastic tables. Yeah, in 2 lines with folding chairs.
Okay.
And nothing was on the walls, and we just did it. And it was basically like volunteer staff, and it was great and it was wonderful. And I remember being so moved by the queens having felt like that it just was such a warm and exciting experience. But yeah, we weren't like open. Like it was like that was like a soft launch, and it's wild to me looking back on that now. There were 30, 40 people in here, and
it like sold out, right?
Yeah, it absolutely sold out.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, it sold out. And I think I was either just getting over shingles, or I was just getting shingles. Because I got shingles the week that we were supposed to open. I had to run the cafe for the first week from my bed.
Oh my God.
That's the worst.
Yeah, it was wild. I can't imagine why I was stressed out.
Yeah.
Couldn't at all.
No.
So why Ashland though? Not saying anything bad about Ashland because we do live here.
Yeah.
But you had Columbia, you had Jeff City.
Yeah.
What made you draw to this place? Was it Tinder?
It was Tinder. Yeah, that's the thing, is like there was no, because, and like most things in my life, it happened that way, right? This is where I'm not like a spiritual religious type person, but like I do firmly believe that like the universe puts you exactly where you're supposed to be. And this is where I was supposed to be. This is where the Dandy Lion was supposed to be. We can only fit like 40 to 50 people if the garage door is open and it's nice outside or whatever. And it gets crowded, and especially post-COVID, it feels really uncomfortable sometimes because COVID made us so used to being so spread out. But like you look back at what it was like before COVID, and we were like, we would pack into bars and places like that. And so like I have to constantly remind myself that that's what it was like. It's okay. Yeah. But yeah, no, Ashland, because of the circumstances, staying in Ashland because of the need. Even if I had the financial viability, which I don't because Columbia is so expensive, but even if I had the financial viability to move into a larger space here in town, or even a similar size space in Columbia, it would have to be something monumentally beneficial, because to leave where we're located now and the magic of this space in like specifically, it would just have to be something overwhelmingly needed, because I don't think we realized as a queer person, queer people exist. There's
like a trifecta.
That community exists. As a queer person, there's a need for community and for those connections. But the Dandy Lion coming along, I think, really surprised everyone that it wasn't just for the queer people. It was for the older folks in the community who didn't feel like they had a safe space. It was for the younger folks in the community who didn't know that they could just sit and be and do something like that. There's not anything like the Dandy Lion in Columbia.
No.
And people all the time are like, oh, you should open up another one. And to them, I'm like, if you have any idea what it takes to run a small business. But also, like I said, even if I financially could, there's no way to replicate what this is. Yeah. There's no franchising the Dandy Lion.
This is your nest.
Yeah, exactly. And everything that's happened along the way has made it what it is. Morgan and Candace being here. The Dandy Lion wouldn't be the Dandy Lion without my general manager and my assistant manager who've been here now over 2 years. Like, it's a vastly different space than it was before they came in. And so as that's grown, like, it really is its own entity. And to try and cage it or guide it or direct it, those aren't my decisions. Like, they really aren't my decisions.
I will say, when we were looking at houses because we wanted to get ready to leave Jeff City after all the crap I had dealt with in teaching, we looked in Columbia, we looked in Ashland, and we had put in a house here in Ashland, didn't win that one. But then I remember telling Holly, and she might remember this, I was like, I cannot wait when I leave teaching and I can go to a queer-owned space and go work and just be me. And
who would have thunk that we would have it in Ashland?
Right?
I know, and I love it. Every time I come in here, I just enjoy everything, and you giving me opportunities to do with pride and all that stuff. Yeah. There's a lot that goes into this place, and I think, like you said, community, but also the people that are helping you build and keeping it open.
Yeah.
Like Candace.
Anytime we've ever had a need, the community has filled it. And that's one thing that I do think I realized from education, is that if you're a good person, there are good people who want to help you. When I was pulled from my classroom with no notice and told that I would not be able to go back in and say goodbye to my students after 10 years, after a 10-year career, basically being told, like, no, you don't have that opportunity to have that closure. There were parents who countered that. There were parents who reached out. There were students who organized pizza parties for me so that I could come and see them again. And that really helped me to see that when there's a need, and if you are someone who has fostered those relationships and you've led with love and you believe in kindness, then that can be returned to you by the universe as well. So
Absolutely.
Me?
Your challenges.
All right, so challenges along the way. What's been the hardest thing that you've experienced as a business owner with the Dandy?
I thought about this one. I read about it. I read it and I was like, what is the hardest thing? And like, the easy answer is just running a business in general.
Yeah.
I
don't think.
Get in there, get deeper.
Yeah,
I mean, you can go so many directions with this.
So many different directions. But the hardest thing is being resilient. I think it takes a certain kind of person who can get knocked down and stand back up, and get knocked back down and stand back up, and just really believing in what it is that you're doing. The Dandy Lion not succeeding has really never been an option.
Yeah.
It's just like, truly, I joke, like, I will find a way or I'll make one. The audacity and the tenacity, being able to draw upon the community that I've built, being able to rely on my partners for that support, but then also just being like, in the face of everything, being like, no, there has to be a way. There can't not be a way to make this work. And there's been times when Lars has been like, Caitlin, dude, let it go. And I'm like, I can't let it go. And not just because of me anymore. Like, now it's Candace and Morgan, and the fact that they are financially reliant upon this space now. I have made that commitment to them. I've made this commitment, whether I want to or not, whether I'm meant to or not, hold a responsibility in this community to make sure that the Dandy Lion stays. And I'm kind to myself, and I understand that there are things outside of my control. There are things that I can't do anything about. If World War III actually friggin' pops off and I can't do it, by God, I'm gonna run it into the ground. But like, I will beg, steal, and borrow to make it happen. But I'll be kind to myself if it doesn't. But that's really the hardest part, is like feeling that responsibility, being proud of what you've built, but also recognizing that it's never going to be easy. Even when I can start making money, even if I start being able to pull a paycheck, which I don't, like, that's another one of those privileges, right? Is that I've gone 4 or 5 years without making any money ever, except for tips, because I would rather turn that back to the community, to my staff, to the Dandy Lion. Even if I were making money, it would not be easy. It's something I'm always thinking about. It's a child.
Yeah.
It's having a child. It's that having that responsibility of.
That's heavy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it really is. And that's the hardest part is, and I think that's what, you can't learn that in business school.
No, you can't even learn that in general. It's
No.
You have to be experiencing it and hands-on.
Yeah.
And you won't know until that shit hits you in the face.
Yeah, until you almost lose it because your landlord doesn't want you to be in the space anymore, or you almost lose it because you can't pay your bills every single month. Yeah. And it's still really scary. We're doing so much better. Financially, we bring in so much more money, but we're also spending so much more money because
you're putting on a lot of events now.
We put on a lot of events, and that's a lot of our moneymaker, but then supply cost has gone up, and if you're putting on events, you have to pay the staffing for that. Yeah. So it's this constant, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh fuck, oh yeah. And so you can't let it get to you. Like, you have to just be like, we're gonna go until we can't.
Yeah. And you always do. I think that's one thing, like when we had saw a post, we're like, oh shit, they're not going to be open. And then you said, oh, we're moving down here. And then I was like, oh my gosh, what's happening? I need to know because I need this. Yeah. We need this space.
Yeah.
I talked to somebody that just started an event here and they love this space too. Like, this space is absolutely needed.
Yeah. It's, like I said, it really has a mind of its own. It's so much more than I ever could have imagined. And I wish I could take credit for it, but it really is it's just special. It's just very special. And people come in all the time for the first time and just literally profess their like undying love. Like, it's wild. I was at True False Film Festival actually yesterday, and somebody went, "Are you Caitlin?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they were like, "Dandy Lion." And I was like, "Yes, that's me. I am the Dandy Lion." And and they were like, with tears in her eyes, was like, "Thank you for everything that you do." And I'm like, you're welcome. I know, like, I get to be the figurehead, but there's so much more than just myself. But I am, at the end of the day, the one that makes that decision whether or not we are here and whether or not to give up. And those are the hard parts when you're laying on the floor crying, like legitimately just laying on the floor sobbing, thinking you're never going to be able to pay your bills, you're never going to be able to do this or that or the other.
What helps you cope through that when you're having those feelings? The support?
I let myself feel those feelings. Like, I let myself feel just the absolute devastation of failure and the potential for failure and the potential for losing the space. And then until it's certain, I just get back up and I do it again. Yeah. You just keep moving forward. And it's the support of my partners and the support of my community and the support of people who believe in me and believe that this space is so valuable. I think if it was just a restaurant, it was just a hobby or something, people could be like, oh yeah, give it up and go start something different. But it's more than just a restaurant. It's a restaurant so that the space can stay open. You can't just replicate the feeling of this place. So
I also really loved, you have after school, or you did have after school?
Yeah, we used to. And so we would stay open later on Tuesdays and Thursdays so that students could come in. We just didn't get a lot of pickup on that. And at the time, like, we couldn't afford to continue doing that. But we continue to work with the local schools in a lot of different ways. So we're working with them right now on, like, we're providing some gift cards and stuff for like their attendance program. Yes. So there's like an attendance program that they do. But then also every week we have a group of students who come and help us with tasks around the cafe for a skills class. Yeah. And so we have them come every week, and there's been times where, like, we've raised money to treat the teachers with a donut and a coffee. So every single teacher in the district received something like that. And we try really hard to say yes to anything that we can afford financially, emotionally, psychologically, and physically is my role. Yeah. And so we do a lot of random stuff. Like, we are donating catering to the Midmo Pocono High School Pride prom in April. And so they contacted us and did that. And so we'll be supporting them. We donate to True Falls so that we can have a presence there. And so folks in Columbia can know a little bit more about what we're doing and the work that we're doing here. We just raised $470 for City of Refuge with the help of a community member who just felt like she had to do something and she didn't know what to do. But she knew if she came to the Dandy Lion, she could make something happen. And we were all about it. Yeah.
Pushback from the public. Did you have any of that? I know you were very supportive.
Yeah.
You said. Did you?
Yeah. It's one of those things where, and anybody who exists in the queer community for any length of time, or any marginalized community for any length of time, recognizes that when you go into a space that is set in its ways, like Ashland, when you come into a new space with a new idea, there's going to be folks who are like, no, I don't want this. And there are definitely still people who don't want it. But the vast majority of people are lazy and and are cowards. And I am neither of those two things. Yeah. And again, it goes back to that, I don't really see authority as a thing. So just because you're a white man who has a name in this town, I don't care. I don't care who you are. I don't care who your daddy was. I don't care that your grandpa has a street named after him and you guys have been around for 150 fucking years. I don't care.
Right. Yeah. It's the most frustrating thing because we dealt with this in
I'm fine.
And it's like, why the fuck does it matter if
I don't care.
your kid doesn't get to be on the field because of the name? I'm sorry, we're putting the best people out there to execute and win.
Yeah.
And they wanted you executed out of there.
They wanted that so bad.
Yeah, and that's the thing is we were doing business with someone who was a name, and they didn't like how I handled like a stipulation and a timeline that they gave me. And because I didn't do it in their timeline the way that they thought that it should happen, they vandalized our property when we first were opening and dumped a whole bunch of stuff, just like their own personal garbage onto our decks. I remember there were literally like sharp knives on the sidewalk, frozen to the sidewalk. And I had to send a picture to the city and be like, hey, this happened and I can't get them up. And kids walk down this sidewalk after school every day. I just need you to be aware of this. There were people who sent in complaints to the city about our construction. And the city representation would come over and be like, Caitlin, this is what they're saying, and here's where it says it in the bylaws. And I would look at the bylaws and I would realize they were talking about residential, not commercial. Oh. And I'd have to go, actually flip this page over, and this is what it says about the commercial. And they go, oh.
Isn't it so fun to deal with that?
Yeah.
Because you are miserable, you want to try and take it down. And again, off.
That's fucking crazy about the knives.
Yeah.
That's a lot of hate, and you clearly didn't get any love growing up, is what that tells me.
Yes, you're so unhappy. Like, I don't have enough time to be petty.
Yeah.
I'm way too busy enjoying myself. Like, I'm far too busy coming up with the next exciting thing to do here, or dancing, or listening to music, or making art, feeling the sun on my friggin' skin. Yeah. Like, I don't have time to be petty. I have plenty of time to handle your pettiness, though. I will run circles around your pettiness.
I am more educated.
I am. I love to be like, this may be your first rodeo, but you have to understand people have been coming at me like this for 20 years. So I'm so ready. Let's go. And so no, there's not anymore. Yeah. Will it pop up? Sure. And when it does, will I be prepared? Absolutely. But like for
first time.
Yeah, it won't be my first time. And that's the thing is, like, they think that they are the first people to come and be mean and that I'm just going to back down. And I'm just like, no. Why would I? No.
God forbid you have a backbone.
Yes. They don't like that either. But yeah, but I have strong beliefs and I have reasons for all of my beliefs. And so if you come to me and you haven't been reflective and you haven't thought about it, the marginalized communities are often brighter, louder, bolder because, and I saw this the other day and I was like, holy shit, that's so true. We have to wake up every day and think about how we're going to interact with the world.
Yep.
We have to wake up every day and think about, what version of myself am I going to be presenting? What version do I want to present? What version is going to keep me safe today?
Safe. So it's not fair that we have to even consider that.
But it also makes us incredibly resilient, and it makes us so incredibly diverse, and it makes us so incredibly capable of reinvention. And so it makes us resilient. For a lot of people who don't have to do that every single day, who haven't had to do that every single day for 20 plus years or whatever, they walk down a hallway, and if they hit the end of the hallway, they're like,
what do I do?
What do I do?
Yeah.
Whereas we're like, oh shit, look, that's a paneled ceiling. We're going up, kids. Instead of sitting down and crying about it, we're gonna find a different way to make it past that. Bridges, not barriers kind of thing.
Yeah.
Blow it up.
Yeah, light it on fire.
Yes.
What do people misunderstand about running a small business the most?
There's so much, but there's so much. It is, I likened it to having a child. It is a full commitment, and you will lose friends, you will lose family members, you will upset people for things you never thought in a million years you would upset somebody over. You will have to sacrifice your time and energy, but also in order to survive, you have to make decisions that are really uncomfortable. And if you don't know who you are, what you want, and what your mission is, then you can be swayed from. It's one of those things, like if you've got to fight for something or you'll fall for everything kind of thing. You have to know what it is that you're trying to accomplish. If I were trying to be a restaurant, I would be lost. If I were trying to be a bar, I would be lost. If I were trying to be an event space, I would be lost. And therefore I recognize I have to be all of those things in order to complete the mission, which is to be a safe presence for the community. And that costs me. That costs me friends. That costs me partnerships. It costs me opportunities and experiences. But it's also given me a lot of things too.
Yeah, there's a lot of pros and cons to it, and I think one of the things that you said that kind of hit home for me is like the idea of the uncomfortable and the sacrifices. If everybody wanted to do that, they would do it, but the uncomfortable and the sacrifice that comes with it, we don't want to.
Yeah.
And it's scary, and you can stay there, and Holly and I have done a lot to get to where we are, and you want to do something about it, you got to bite the bullet and possibly cut ties, possibly lose friends, because you can't grow if you're not around those kinds of people that are going to support you.
There have been long stints where the thing is that, like, ultimately there are not very many people in the world. This is like the easiest way to show the level of dedication. Like, I work 30 to 40 hours a week in the space, regardless of what happens beyond it. Just the casual networking, the social media, the payroll, the ordering, the paying bills, the doing the timesheets, making the schedule, thinking about the events. All of those things are outside the cafe. I'm here 30 to 40 hours a week inside the cafe, making food, cleaning bathrooms, getting underneath and unclogging the ice machine drain.
Yeah.
And
The hard stuff that you
and
don't really sees.
and I make $0 an hour. There are very few people who would dedicate 30 to 40 hours a week to something that they receive no financial compensation from. And to me, it just makes sense, because that's the work. For me, it's not a business, it is a mission. This is my way, and the privilege that I have with being with the folks that I am that can financially help me that way, and not needing to have, but our second year, I was working here, and I had a second job working with UPS during the holiday season. I was delivering packages while running the cafe, because it's just like to fund this place. It wasn't even money for myself. It was because we were so in the hole that, like, I had to supplement the income of this place for it.
Right.
And so it does take sacrifice. That took away time from my partner. That took away time from myself, my own sanity, my own goals. I dance 3 to 7 hours a week, like at the studio that I dance at. And so you got to be ready to give up a whole bunch of everything and really believe in what you're doing, because if you don't believe in it, you're just going to constantly be like, why am I even doing this?
A lot of questioning and spinning. So to tag team off of that, what would be your advice to somebody that looks up to you as a role model, possibly a kid, you know, that is down the street and sees the Dandelion and what you do?
I would say find something that you are good at. So organizing, I love community. I love educating. I love helping people grow. I love hosting and everything that being a host encompasses, be that like the prep work and then the being present, and all of those things are things that like I truly do get energy from. So you have to find something that will almost be like a self-sustaining in terms of the energy of it. There are times where it feels impossible, but the other times that I can draw upon are the things that kind of fill that battery back up. So being able to stand back and appreciate the small things. If I'm like, when I'm closing, there's been so many times where I'm like closing up and I go to lock the door and I just stop and I just look back in the space and I'm just like, damn,
I did that.
this is mine. Or it's so silly because like we joke in the movie Hook when Peter Pan starts to be able to fly. There's like a moment where this kid's, you're doing it, Peter. Yeah. And we'll be like behind the lines and one of my staff will go, we're doing it, Peter. Yeah. And that's like it is. It's oh my God, it's like a real restaurant. Holy shit.
So rewarding.
Yeah, and because I didn't go to school for it, I didn't go to culinary school, I didn't go to business management school, I didn't do anything like that. Like, it's shit, we did this, we do this every day.
Yeah, and I would like to point, if you make a change in your life, it's okay. But going back to what you said, know what you're doing. And
yeah,
really
just love it, yeah. Do something that fills your heart with joy, even if you're not making money off of it. Because there are ways to make that work. There are ways to find a supplemental income or scratch your way through. I have definitely not led nearly as difficult a financial life as Morgan and Candace have, and they have made it to this point and are alongside me. And I'm able to help them with that now, but they made it here too. And we've all made it to the Dandy Lion. We've all made it to where we can do this every day. And it's frustrating and it's hard and we sacrifice and we get angry and we cry and then we get back up the next day and we come in, because what a fucking gift to call this what we do for a living.
Yeah, I agree. It is really unique and special for sure.
Yeah, you can just feel the heart and soul.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you carry it on your shoulders,
yeah,
and on your sleeve, and all of the things.
Yes.
And we really appreciate you doing what you do here. It does not go unnoticed for our household.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I always tell people it's a pleasure and a privilege, because it really truly is. It is a pleasure and a privilege, like a gift.
Yeah.
So. So thank you, Caitlin.
Oh, thank you so much.
No, thank you, Holly,
for coming on the Lesbian Lounge and being with us.
Right. Yeah.
You go.
Holly.
I have the giggles. You go.
Okay.
Holly's dealing with the emotions of how wonderful this place
is. Means a lot to her, just being in this town. She never had anybody to look up to or be able to be herself. Like, I look at her of where we were 10 years ago when we dated and to now, and like, this Holly is confident, sexy, all the things, especially with the lesbian cut. But now, like,
it's so fire, by the way.
But now, like, she talks about how this place is really, she wish she had it in high school.
Representation of what a lesbian is, queer, all of it.
All of it.
Yeah.
What would be the way that you would want people to support you as you continue to grow Dandelion and you guys celebrate your birthday? What would you want from people or want them to hear?
Unfortunate reality is that it requires money. That is the one Like, philosophically, I talked about what the most difficult thing is, but truly the most difficult thing is if I had enough money, I would never ever cry. If I had enough money, I would never worry, because my mother likes to say that if you take any problem and you apply money liberally, it's solved.
I 100% agree.
It's so true. If I had enough money to purchase the land that's right next door, holy shit, we'd punch a hole in the side of this building and build staircase up and have another outbuilding, and this would be the kitchen and that would be the dining room. You know what I mean? If we had enough money, then my staff would be making more. I would probably still not be pulling a paycheck because I'm just a psychopath. But I wouldn't have to worry about, I could get a new freezer. As we grow, Candace and Morgan are working more. I want to be able to pay them what they're worth. Yeah. The more that we grow, the more that we make, and I don't have the storage for it. The more that people want to be in the space, the more space that I need, and I don't have the finances for that. And so it all comes down to recognizing that this is a beautiful, magical, wonderful life of its own, heart of a space that exists in a capitalist society. And in order for it to exist, it has to be funded.
Yeah, it does.
And so there are lots of ways people can do that. We have a very lazy Patreon, as in, just give us your money. We're not going to do anything in return. The levels definitely say that we're going to. It's not going to happen. You could all, yeah, sorry about you.
I love it, though.
I mean, it's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. Buying gift cards, you can do that electronically. We sell them on our website. That is money in our pockets right then and there. Just coming in and frequenting the space, telling your friends, and if you don't have money, then sharing our posts. Yeah. Because the world is a really fickle place. And unfortunately, the vast majority of our world exists on social media.
Yeah, that is very true.
And the algorithm will squash anything it wants to. And the reality of the fact is that as society as a whole gets more and more narrow-minded again, places like this will be squashed by the algorithm, which means you won't know about an event until after it's happened.
Yeah.
No matter how much money I throw into it. And so being able to expand the reach in more of a grassroots way of sharing events or talking to your friends or putting a sticker up in a weird space, like those are all ways that help people realize that the Dandy Lion exists, and then they can come and find us. And once they find us, we feel pretty solid that you're going to come back. Yeah. But there's so many people who still don't know that this space exists. And there's people whose lives I think it would significantly change.
Yeah. You mentioned the social media. Can you let our viewers and listeners know where to find you on Facebook, TikTok?
Don't say TikTok.
Okay, so no TikTok. Sorry, we're not.
I knew she was going to.
Sorry, that's where my people are.
No, I know. That's where everybody is.
Fortunately,
I'm 42, guys. I cannot.
You can make some really great ones. We'll come in here and
I was gonna say, I'll come in. We can make some good content for
This has been so lovely. Bye, guys.
You're like, I gotta go.
No, Instagram and Facebook.
Okay, Instagram.
Because we do so many events, because we are very event-based, a lot of the stuff that we put up is on Facebook in terms of what we're doing when we're doing it. I do a lot of graphics in terms of what our monthly events are going to be, what our weekly specials are. And if people aren't, we're the Dandy Lion on Main on Facebook, and then the Dandy Lion Café on Instagram. If you Google Gay Cafe Ashland, we pop up. That's what they call us.
Better than the mob, because that's what Boomville's getting called because of somebody bashing that one. So I think yours is doing great.
Oh.
They even made T-shirts.
Oh, I love that for them.
I got one. I had to.
Yeah, of course.
I will walk that street for you too, because y'all kicked me out.
Yeah. No, Gay Cafe Ashland. But then also, if you're not a social media person, I send out a newsletter every week, most weeks, and it's just literally the graphics that I made put onto an email for people. Yeah. And
I will say, if I was like certain sandwiches or certain things, they draw me in. So I will definitely step my game up of reposting, because I know how important that is.
Yeah, the food is phenomenal. And so the thing is, like, I don't know why. It's just really good. And
The cake balls are really good. They're balling.
yeah, they are. They are. All the baked goods are incredible. Candace's work with the specials has been phenomenal. And consistency. Like, it's always about consistency.
Yep.
Keeping, if you build it, they will come. And just believing in that.
We just want to say thank you for taking time and coming on the Lesbian Lounge. We would love to have you again because we do have the Pride event that we're doing with you, and so I think we need to hype that up some more, getting closer to July.
Yeah.
And again, if you have not already, make sure you like and follow the Lesbian Lounge, and let's pull up a seat and let's grow together.